it's really important to just stay in your own game and stay focused on what you want to be bringing to life and not giving up, trusting that it's all going to work out the way it's meant to, and it's just going to take a little bit of time.
Katie, let it out with Katie. Let it out with Katie Dalebout, enthusiast and curator of people and ideas you need to hear. Hey guys, welcome back. You are listening to Let It Out, the podcast hosted by me, Katie Dalebout, and I interview the coolest people that I can find, people that are inspiring, fascinating, interesting. They're artists, they're entrepreneurs, they're creatives, they're my friends, they're people doing cool things, people just living their lives that I want to get to know because I think everybody has a story to tell. So this week's episode is actually a return guest. I have Natlaie Macneil. She is an author, a speaker, a writer, a creative person, an entrepreneur. She's really cool. And you know what? I just re-listened to this episode and I love me some Natlaie Macneil. I almost forgot how great she is and how awesome she is. And then I listened to this episode and I remembered, oh man, I love her. She's just so sweet and nice and insightful, and there's so much goodness in this episode. We talk about personality tests and Myers-Briggs and entrepreneurship and creativity and writing and relationships. We talk about food. We talk about a lot about productivity, and it's just a great conversation. I really think you're going to enjoy it. We talk a bit about the Conquer Club in this episode, but if you are an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, definitely check it out. It's launching right now, so check out the link in the description and everything you need will be there. There's a free course you can try just to see if the Conquer Club is right for you, but it's really amazing. And like I said, I love Natlaie, so just check that out. If you're curious, I mentioned that we talk about Myers-Briggs personality tests, and since recording this episode, I took my assessment and got really into it one night, like late at night. I was just like taking personality tests and watching all these videos about my personality type, and I am an ENFP. So if you are into Myers-Briggs, you will know what that means, and it's an interesting personality type. It's the one that I'm technically extroverted, but I'm the least extroverted of the extroverts. So I need a lot of internal time. So it's kind of like what we were talking about this episode of kind of being in between introverted and extroverted. So anyway, I think that stuff is fascinating. I love personality types and astrology and anything where I can learn information about myself. I don't know if that makes me narcissistic or if it just makes me a human that's interested in the human experience, and I like having information about myself, not to be a victim of it, but just to learn how to navigate my experience a little bit more in the world. Anyway, I'm going to get right into this episode. We have just the one interview today, and you know what? I'm going to just actually let next week's guest be a surprise. I'm usually telling you who it's going to be at the end of the episode, but this time, we're just going to make it a wild card for a couple of reasons. Because A, I want you to trust me as your curator of inspirational interviews or fun interviews, interesting interviews, fascinating interviews. Just trust me that next week's going to be really great. I have so many great ones on my computer right now, just waiting to be aired, and I'm not actually sure which one I want to put out. So I wanted to record this intro right now, and I'm not actually sure which one I'm going to put out. So just hang tight and promise to come back next week and be surprised. It's kind of nice to be surprised, right? Anyway, if you haven't checked out my book, Let It Out, A Journey Through Journaling, I would so love it if you bought a copy for yourself, for someone else. It's a great way to support the podcast and a great way to check out my work. So let me know if you have been reading it and have been doing the journaling exercises. Please take a photo of the book. I've loved seeing all of the photos of my book all over the world using the hashtag Let It Out Book, or when you're listening to the podcast using the hashtag Let It Out Pod. It's so cool to see a little piece of me all over the world. in these different places. I wish that I was actually there hanging out with you guys, but I feel like I sort of am by my book being on your bookshelf or my podcast being in your headphones. It's really cool, and it builds a lot of community. And speaking of community, a great way to build it through this podcast is through the Facebook group. So there's a Facebook group for people who listen to the podcast, and there's so many cool people in that group. I love being inspired by the things that are posted in there and having conversations in there. So definitely join the Facebook group if that's something that you would be into. I love it. And a great way to keep in touch with me is to sign up for my email list. That's how you'll know when new episodes are coming out, or if I'm traveling to your city and we do a little meetup or a live episode, or if I have a new vlog out, because I've been vlogging my travels and different things I've been doing. So anyway, that would be a great place to keep in touch with me, is on my email list. And then also on the internet, I can be found at Katie Dalebout on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. And I've really been liking Twitter lately, so make sure you're following along there. All right, I'm going to get right on into this episode. If you do want to support the show, one last thing I forgot, definitely leave a review on iTunes. I know it seems silly, but it really does help a lot. I really want to be able to grow the show. If you think that the show provides value, if you like listening each week, if you just want more of it so I can keep doing it, please leave a review. And more than that, just subscribe on your iPhone, telephone, or your Android or whatever. Subscribe. It's so helpful, and the more people that subscribe, the more I can keep doing the show. And maybe it helps you. Maybe it helps you feel less alone. Maybe it helps you have something to do on your commute. Maybe you just like it for some odd reason. I don't know. Not that you have to be a really weird person to like the show, but we're all kind of weird, right? Anyway, this is so rambly, but that's what podcasts are. They're ramble time. So I'm going to get right on into it. You'll hear a few Wellness Wonderland references because this was recorded a couple months ago before my book came out, and I changed the name of the podcast officially to Let It Out. But that's okay. It's all the same stuff, just a different name. It's all semantics. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Natlaie, and I will talk to you guys soon. Natlaie, I am so excited to have the Natlaie Macneil of She Takes on the World and the Conquer Kit back in the Wellness Wonderland. Thank you so much for being here. And start in by telling us how you are doing with all the success of your book. And since you've been back, since the last time you were on the show, so much has happened in your life. So how are you doing really? How have you been handling all the success? That's what I really want to know first.
I am trying to think when I was on the show. Was it 2 years ago now?
I think it was over 2 years ago. I
Okay.
think it's been like
A lot has happened.
a lot.
A lot has happened. So, how am I handling it all? I am just coming off of like 8 weeks of being on a book tour. So, quite honestly, I'm feeling more drained than I have in a really long time. And I am very good at self-care when I'm on the road. I still fuel myself with good food and my green smoothies and my green juice, and I still do my meditation every day and yoga, but it just slowly sort of chisels away at you. And after several weeks of really early mornings and late nights and hundreds of interviews and media appearances and being at live events and surrounded by people, I feel like I am more depleted than I have been in a really long time. So for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be very focused on my overall health and well-being, and also documenting that journey as well. So I'm going to document all of it with the naturopathic team that I work with, because there's a lot of little things that I do to optimize my energy. So the reason why I'm still able to keep going right now, because I still have a busy schedule even though the book tour is done, it really is the result of the rituals that I have in my life and the habits. And I'm putting that all together for a little series just to show people some of those things that I do. I do vitamin IV drips. I do a lot of supplements. I eat a very balanced diet, and I don't want to say a strict diet because it's not strict at all, and I believe in everything in moderation, but I just make choices that are going to fuel my body. So there's a lot of these little like health hacks that really have kept me going.
I love that. That's so wellness wonderland of you.
Of course, of course.
I'm really excited about that series, and I'm excited to share it. I think that's great, and thanks for being vulnerable and sharing that, because I think you do so much that it would be weird if you didn't feel run down after a book tour. I think that's such a huge thing, and being the extroverted, like outspoken face of your brand and your company, that's par for the course to have that travel. But I think travel is tough on anyone's nervous system, and setting yourself up for success with that is so crucial.
Yes, and I'm done with extroversion right now.
Yeah, you can go back into your cave.
I'm a total introvert right now. All I want to do is like stay inside and be all alone, and that's actually been one of the hardest things about the last 8 weeks. And it hasn't just been the last 8 weeks, actually. It's really been the last 6 months that have been so full on, and I haven't sort of let myself get that drained in a while, but there wasn't really anything else that I could take off of my plate. And I find that the last time I felt like this, maybe 3-4 years ago, I didn't have the team that I have now. The relationships that I've built and that means so much to me at this point, I have to be very mindful of, because as I feel like I need to take some time for introspection and to really just focus on, making sure that I'm supercharged, because we also have a big year ahead. I actually have another book that comes out November 2016. So it's like 2 in a 12-month period, which is a little crazy. Also with Penguin Random House. So I feel like I really need to get my energy back up as soon as possible. And what I'm finding most difficult right now is that I think I'm highly irritable in the relationships that I'm in. And of course, they mean a lot to me. And I have this team now. So I'm just trying to, keep myself in check, and also recognizing that I probably just need to go away for a week and be alone and not be around anybody, just so that I have time and space to really reflect on all of it. Because I'm a big believer in having to pause and reflect on everything that's happening when you're going through those stages of up-leveling in your life.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I completely understand and agree. What about have you taken the Myers-Briggs like test or whatever?
Yes.
Do you fall more extroverted or introverted, or?
I am a total ambivert, like completely
Both?
in the middle, like absolutely in the middle. I can definitely be out there, and I do get energy from being in those crowds, from keynoting big business engagements or big events. I love that. But at the same time, after that, I do feel the need to just totally retreat. And I think part of it, I've realized this over the last 8 weeks or so that I've been on the book tour, and I've been doing a lot more speaking engagements. A lot of event organizers have been saying, I've never actually seen a speaker leave the stage and then go out and like sign every book and talk to every single person individually. Like, that is crazy. And I guess I just didn't realize that that's something that means a lot to me. And I think it's a big part of my brand, is that I want people to feel like they have that connection to me. I want people to feel like, I'm right there with them. I don't want to leave a stage and then run away. That just doesn't feel very good to me. And it doesn't feel like it's how I want people to be interacting with my brand, if that makes sense. So when I'm out there at these events, like I really do give it my all. Like I am 100%. And because I do that, and sometimes it takes me several hours to talk to everyone and to sign all those books, then I feel like, okay, now for the next 24 hours, I feel like I want some downtime. But what's been happening is that I haven't got that through the book tour. It's been every single day. So like people, people, people. And now I'm like, okay, I need my space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to like now you're going to have to like make up for that space that you didn't get and take some like
exactly
elongated space, but you have so much coming up. I think that we all probably, I've been thinking about this a lot. People just assume I'm an extrovert because of what I do and like how I like to talk to people and that sort of thing. But, with that test, it's more about where you get your energy. And I find that, like you were saying, I really get my energy through both. If I spend too much time alone and I'm like working from home and I haven't seen people and it's winter, I'm like, stir crazy and I need to see people.
Yes.
But at the same time, if I'm around people a ton, sometimes that can energize me, but also I feel like I need to like be alone and take a bath and like not talk to people for a while too. So
absolutely.
I think we all kind of have some of that. So congrats on the second book. I didn't know that. That is so exciting.
Yay.
Well, the third
yeah,
book.
It's like 11. Yeah, so it's 11 months after the Conquer Kit that this next one comes out. So it's kind of, there's a lot to do. So I need to finish that now. I'm just
you're
in
writing
the final
that now?
stages. Yeah, it's close to being done. And then I'll probably have the one after that come out about a year after this one. So it's like 3 books in a very tight period of time. But I mean, it was such an amazing opportunity. I love my publisher, and I just
that's so amazing.
I'm not gonna not do it.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So is it a similar concept to the Conquer Kit?
Yeah, so the next book is called Conquer Your Year, and it breaks the Conquer Kit down into the day-to-day. So the Conquer Kit is meant to give you a 12-month plan, and then Conquer Your Year takes all of that and breaks it down into this is what you have to do next, and here's how you stay on track every day. It's almost like having a coach and accountability partner.
Oh my gosh.
In a book. So it's meant to help you actually achieve everything that you've set out to achieve in the Conquer Kit. So I'm having a lot of fun with that one right now.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's everything that I've wanted. So I really create these products selfishly for myself because the Conquer Kit, I've been using that process since 2010. And it's worked for my own business.
Clearly.
And then we gave it to our Conquer Club members, and then everyone's like, this needs to be a book. So now instead of having all these sheets in a binder like me and my clients do, now we have it as a book. So it'll be same with this book. Yeah, exactly. So it was all selfish.
Aww, I love that.
Myself.
That is so cool. That is so cool. So let's take a step back for new people listening to the show. I highly suggest going back to my first episode with Natlaie, and that was actually the first conversation that we ever had. But I don't know if you remember this. Well, I'm sure you do, but it was the first conversation we ever had, so you'll get to know her. And then afterwards, you stayed on and talked to me for like 3 hours. And you were so nice, and you helped me, and we became such good friends. And I ended up going to visit you in Canada, and it was so much fun. And we had like the best time. We did so many fun things together. I actually stayed on the She Takes on the World set. It was so amazing, and we've like stayed close friends from afar ever since. And we actually live pretty close. But yeah, it's interesting because I love podcasting so much. It's really, I think podcasting is the new networking. It's such a great way.
And you're so good at it. You are so good at it.
Thank you. It's such a great way to really connect with people and meet people because you get to ask them things that you're curious about. And back then even since then, my podcast has grown quite a bit and there's a lot more people listening. But really, just what you were saying about the book and making what you wish existed for the book and what you wanted, I do the same thing with the podcast, asking what I'm curious about. And with my book as well, the journaling book really was built out of my need and want of people to have this tool that was so powerful in my own life. And so I think that just really speaks to making products and art that is what you want to see in the world. And I think that that's so important for creativity. And Elizabeth Gilbert talks about in her recent book, Big Magic, about instead of creating things that you think will help people, create things that have helped you, and then that will help people. And that's a big shift for people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
love that.
Yeah, I love that. That's just really helpful. So let's take a step back a little bit and talk a little bit about the Conquer Kit. So I know you talked about it a little bit and kind of how it came to be, but can you get into the nuts and bolts of it a little bit more for people who might not be familiar?
Yeah, so the Conquer Kit is a creative business planning workbook. And I think for a lot of us, we are so creative, and a traditional business plan just doesn't do it for us. It doesn't feel good. And I wanted a business plan that felt organic and intuitive and fun and creative. And that's what the Conquer Kit is. So I invite readers to sketch and scribble and cut and paste and draw all over the pages to create their business plan. And it's a 12-month plan. And you don't even have to have the business yet. This could be something that you're just thinking about as a side project. Maybe you want to bring a podcast to life. Maybe you want to start a blog. You want to create something that hasn't existed before. You can use this book to do just that. And inside the book, we start off with mindset, because that's really the foundation of all success. You have to have a great mindset if you're going to achieve anything. So we start there, and then we look at why you really want what you want and how your goals are aligned with everything that you're doing in your life. And then we dive into some of the more businessy things like money and your marketing plan and your product plan. And then we wrap it up by creating the 12-month plan that will drive everything that you're doing for the next year.
Cool. It is so cool. It's such a great tool. I'm so glad it exists.
Yay! Me too. I mean, like I said, I have been doing this process since 2010 on my own. So it was nice for me to be able to create my 2016 plan inside this book. It's like, cool. Yes, this is what I've wanted for so long. And, even though I run a 7-figure company now, I still use this process. And that's what a lot of people have been asking me on the tour. They're like, do you really actually use this? I mean, you seem like the type of person who would still write a quote unquote real business plan. And I'm like, this is a real business plan. And yes, I do still use it. This is my baby.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. It wouldn't be in integrity of you if you didn't use it, knowing you.
Exactly.
And so it's really great to hear about this all from you. And like I said, you're this amazing big sister to me who's always been so kind. And so with this launching process, what has it been like? What have you learned from yourself other than the travel and what we kind of talked about earlier? But, with everything that you've had to do, all the moving parts, all of the media, any insights into that? I would love to know personally, and I think it's interesting for everyone to hear.
I think I learned how much of a runway you really need to bring something like this to life. And I think that people underestimate the amount of time that goes into something like this. And that's actually been one of the biggest lessons to me. So when my first book came out in 2011, I actually started, no, it wasn't 2011, it was 2012. When it came out in March 2012, I started working on the Conquer Kit pretty much right after. And I had a list of my dream agents that I wanted. I had talked to some of them. They told me about where I needed to be at in my business and with my online following, before they would actually take a proposal for me. So then I was like, okay, I know what I need to do for the next 12 months. I need to get to this level. I need to be working on the proposal. And I just kept in touch with these agents. I did end up landing my dream agent. Her and I went back and forth for almost a year on the proposal because she wanted it to be the most perfect proposal that was going to make the world's top publishers enter a bidding war for this book. And I'm like, if you think that could happen, okay, I'm trusting you. So we worked on it for a year. Then we were actually out pitching. And actually the pitching part, it didn't take long before there was indeed multiple publishers interested. And then from there, it was over a year before it actually got published. So it's 2016 now, and I started this back in 2012. So it has taken a very long time for this to come to life. And your dreams are always worth it. Your goals and these desires that you have, like, rooted so deeply in your soul, they're all worth the time and effort to bring to life. Even if you have something in your mind and you're like, oh, I may not be able to do this in the next 2 years. Like, I don't know if I would be able to get to this point where I'd be able to bring this to life. Like, they're all stepping stones, I find. And you've just got to be patient with the process. Marianne Williamson says those who know the outcome can afford to wait and wait without anxiety. And I think just learning that patience and just trusting that it's all unfolding as it's supposed to, and knowing that sometimes really great things need a very, very long runway before they're going to be able to take off and fly. I think those have been some of the big lessons that have come out of creating this book.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. My book process took a very long time as well, and that's like one of my favorite quotes ever, the one that you just said. I love that, and I think it's such a great lesson to apply, obviously, to launching something and writing a book or starting anything, but also just in life in general. It's about patience. It's about trusting the universe. It's about surrender. It's about letting go. And so I think it's a great lesson that can be applied really everywhere, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, good things can sometimes take a little bit of time. And I think when we're younger, I know this has been the case for me. I often am looking at people who are much older than me, and those were always the people that I was comparing myself to. And I'm like, why am I not at that level yet? And I would have mentors be like, you're not at that level yet, Natlalie, because you're like 20 years younger than the person that you're comparing yourself to right now. Like, geez, give yourself a little bit of credit. And it's really important to just stay in your own game and stay focused on what you want to be bringing to life and not giving up, trusting that it's all going to work out the way it's meant to. And it's just going to take a little bit of time. And I think especially when we're younger, we need to hear that message, because I talk to too many young people who just give up because they're like, I'm throwing in the towel. This is so stressful, and it's going to take me years to build an audience to this point, to get a book deal. I actually have friends who have been in that position where they really wanted to do a book, and I was one of the ones who actually stuck it out all the way through. And to get that dream book deal with the world's biggest publisher, that's who I wanted to work with, that was like 7 years of blogging very consistently, creating content, like building a company around this website she takes on the world. So it's been a very long journey, but I consistently kept going. I stayed the course, and you'll always be rewarded for just continuing to walk that path that is appearing in front of you.
Yeah. I think that that comparison can be so toxic and can really take us out if we listen to it. And it's about understanding that it's just something that shouldn't be listened to and shouldn't be fed, and trying to move away from it. And this actually ties really well to a question. We'll shift into some questions that listeners asked in the Facebook group. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, join the Facebook group, because a lot of times I'll, like I did today, post that I'm about to interview someone, and then you can ask questions and I will ask them like I'm about to. But somebody asked a question that I think is really, and I was going to ask actually a similar question, which is how, when you're trapped in that comparison, like you were just talking about, or you're having a bad day, just, other than that, or you're in a slump of some sort, how do you shift out of that? And the way that they actually phrased it, I'll read it here. She says, ask her how she deals with, this might take it on a little different tangent, but that's okay. How she deals with customers that have negative comments about her product or service. I get really upset and feel like crap all day. How does she not let it bother her and keep moving forward? So really, I think the question is, how do you keep moving forward, whether it's comparison, whether it's a negative comment from a customer, whatever it is, how do you keep moving forward?
Yeah, I think there's a few different elements to that. So I believe that when you constantly compare yourself to other people, you are turning your back on your own unique talents and gifts. And when I reframe it that way, it always helps me to shift my perspective of the situation. So knowing that if I'm just focused on what I need to do, what my whispers are telling me, your life is always whispering to you. If you are trusting your own inner voice and trusting that guidance you're receiving, and those are the things that you're working on, I know that that's what I am supposed to be doing, and that what everyone else is doing really doesn't matter at all. And it's a matter of like putting on those blinders.
Yeah.
When you have other people who are criticizing you in any way, and oftentimes the criticism will come because they're comparing themselves to you. That's what I find a lot of the time, and there will be jealousy there, or you just have to realize that what other people think about you is really none of your business, and it's really not your problem. It's usually always their problem. Now, sometimes there are pieces of constructive criticism that we'll get that we are paying attention to, and we're looking at who is giving us the constructive criticism. If it's a long-time client and they're saying, hey, I would actually love for you to do it this way instead, or I didn't like this because I didn't really understand it. I think you could have explained it better. Those are things that we're like, okay, awesome. Thank you so much for letting us know, because those are the things that help us get better. Oftentimes the really like mean and nasty criticism is always about the other person. It has nothing to do with you. And there's really nothing that you can take from that. There's really no gem that you can take out of something that's like really, really nasty. So that's the way I look at it. And now I have somebody who deals with that for me. So now that I have a team, I don't look at any of that. So all customer support, I am 100% out of, because I don't want to have to get sucked in to that black hole of negativity. So I think, I don't know if the person asking the question has a business that's like up and running already. It sounds like maybe she does. When you get to that point where there is some revenue there, I think one of the best things that you can do is hire a virtual assistant, hire someone to start taking some of that off your plate so that you don't have to deal with it. And then the last thing I'll say is, don't go out looking for the criticism. This is another big mistake I see people make. I don't go and read every single review that people submit for my book on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble or on any of those sites, on Goodreads. That's not what I care about. So people who are like book reviewers and people who are, in the media who have covered the book. So I had a feature in Elle magazine for the Conquer,
which was amazing.
Kid. Thank you.
Congrats.
That was big. So those are the kinds of things that I'll actually read, and I'll ask people about, what they liked about the book or what they didn't like. Those are the kinds of situations are the kind of people that I will take some constructive criticism from, but not people who are just randomly talking about me on a website or leaving a nasty comment, but not even leaving their real name. I just don't pay attention to any of that, and I don't go looking for it. And I know a lot of people who just get addicted to actually going and finding everything so that they know what's out there and they know what's being said. And I just trust that it has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And I just totally let it go and separate myself from it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And I want to react to a couple things that you said and just pick up on there. So you had mentioned to me hiring a virtual assistant a long time ago, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I'll get there someday. And I haven't told you this, but I have the most amazing assistant and podcast producer, and it has transformed everything. Shout out, Amanda. It is so amazing. So I just really, it's such a positive thing to invest in that way and to invest in good people and having a team, even if it's just one person like I have, or as you grow, multiple people like Natlaie has. I think it's just really, really amazing and helpful and will help you grow in a way that you can't do on your own. And just having that support of another person is fantastic. And I think it's really helpful as a solo entrepreneur.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the other thing with comparison, I just wanted to say this line. So my mom always said to me when I was younger, even with comparison, is concern yourself with you. Concern yourself with you. There's even a tool in my book called the Concern Yourself with You tool to help shift people out